Sean likes to call me Queen Ash. I'm going to be telling some story times because some of my favorite YouTube videos to watch are story timers. This series is going to be called Running Through the Bums, and I know it sounds mean, but basically I'm going to be telling stories about all the ex-boyfriends I've had. I'm pretty fiery. A lot of my breakups end up in flames, very dramatic. Some of them follow me on social media and some of them I follow on social media only because years have passed. Pretty much because years have passed and they're still interested, and I'm kind of just like, watch how amazing my life is without you kind of stuff, because I'm super happy with Sean. Let's jump into it. My first running through the bum is gonna be about a boyfriend that I had in 7th grade, and I know that that might sound a little bit like, what the heck, boyfriends in 7th grade? Yeah, I've had a lot of boyfriends. You might think that this one might be a little bit chill, but it's actually one of the worst ones. Pretty traumatic. It's something that stuck with me my whole life. I had a friend named Taylor. She was a little bit older than me. All the names are changed in this, by the way, so I'm gonna go with Taylor. I had a friend, Taylor, that was older than me by a year. We grew up together. This is what makes this so sad. We grew up together. Our parents were best friends since forever. Like, since I was alive, I've known her because she's older than me. And she was always my best friend. I always felt like she was the tall, you know, blonde, pretty girl that everybody wanted, and I was kind of like the ugly, like weird, you know, friend. It made me feel really insecure. Taylor also had a cousin who we're gonna name Shirley. Shirley was a tomboy, so I kind of trusted her more when it came to boy stuff. But with secrets, no, I trusted Taylor more. But I felt more insecure when it came to Taylor, definitely, and because of my own insecurities, not because of anything she had done to me in the past. Those are the backgrounds of who my friends were at the time. So I had a boyfriend in 7th grade. His name was Ruiz. He was one of my first boyfriends, if not the first. He was very popular. Looking back, he wasn't really that good looking, and I wasn't really that attracted to him. I know that seems like super shady, and it is a little bit shady, but he was really popular because he was so funny. He got a lot of attention from a lot of girls in our grades because he was always cracking jokes, and he was, I think, a little bit older. His birthday was either late or he got held back. Super, super funny, really short. He was very popular. So when he asked me to be his girlfriend, I was kind of shook. I was a late bloomer. I wasn't really doing anything with any guys, like a kiss on the cheek, maybe a kiss on the lips. If someone just did it to me, like shook, like I would be shook if it's just happening to me, but I would never do it to anyone. But yeah, that kind of thing. One night, Shirley, her parents really didn't care about anything that she did, ever. Literally ever. There'll be more short stories about Shirley because some crazy stuff happened with her. But her parents never cared about what she did, and so obviously you want to stay the night at the house of the person whose parents don't care. Shirley's parents knew Ruiz's parents, so they didn't really care if Ruiz stayed the night with me and Taylor and Shirley. We get there, we're all staying the night, we're all excited. Her parents leave. Completely leave. So 7th grade me, 7th grade Ruiz, 7th grade Shirley, and 8th grade Taylor. Okay, so we're all sitting around and Taylor says, oh my god, guys, let's play Spin the Bottle. And I have never played any kind of game like that, especially a kissing game, and I felt really uneasy, uncomfortable. I was kind of thinking about it like, why would we do that when there's only one boy here? Ruiz was the only boy. So I was kind of like, you know, but I was really naive, really insecure, and I was bullied a lot, so I would pretty much, you know, I would not want to cause a scene and not make things awkward. I wanted to seem very easygoing, like go with the flow. I don't want to start anything, and I wanted to seem like a cool girl, like he's recently my boyfriend, these are my friends. I don't want to be like the weird one that doesn't want to do the kissing game. I said yeah. I also didn't have any reason to not trust any of them because they all had never done anything mean to me ever, never gossiped about me, never had problems with me, never anything. But mind you, this is my first boyfriend. So we start playing Spin the bottle spins, people are kissing, just like pecks on the lips, pecks on the lips. After we go around a couple times, you know, Ruiz wants to amp it up a little bit. Ruiz is like, okay, like we need to do it for like 15 seconds instead. And next time I spin the bottle, I ended up landing on Taylor. It did seem like Ruiz really did want us to kiss. Like that's something that he liked. I mean, obviously he would love this game. He's the only boy. He's thinking, oh, I have these 3 girls. This is so great. Like such a ladies man, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, like I just did it. Like I definitely gave into the peer pressure and I just did it. And I'm sure you guys can relate. there's probably a ton of things and ton of people that have done things that they didn't want to do because of peer pressure. So yeah, I kissed her and that was it. Then Ruiz said, maybe we should try and play 7 Minutes in Heaven. Have you guys ever played 7 Minutes in Heaven? And I had never done anything like that. I'd never even done Spin the Bottle. So I was really nervous. The whole night was not going the way that I had planned at all. Like I'm very much a romantic, and I even was back then. I thought this was gonna be like an amazing sleepover with my best friends, and then my boyfriend was there. Like maybe I might like have a nice kiss with him or whatever, and then play some like GameCube and then like go to sleep. That's definitely not what happened. Everybody wanted to play the 7 Minutes in Heaven game, and at that point I did tell them I was uncomfortable. I told them I didn't think that that was right because Ruiz was the only guy, and they convinced me, remind you, I'm in 7th grade, I'm very naive. They convinced me that basically that if anybody goes in besides me and him, that they'll just squeeze, you know those inflatable bats and hammers that you can get from carnivals way back in the day when you used to win a game like Pull the Duck or Rings on the Bottle. You used to get those inflatable hammers, those giant ones, or those bats, and they would squeak a little bit if you'd squeeze them or whatever. So yeah, there was that in the room. So Shirley had that stuff in her room. So she also had bunk beds. Louise and Taylor both told me, oh, like if anyone else goes in the room besides you and Ruiz, like we'll just jump on the bed and like squeeze the hammer and like pretend like, you know, make those noises, right? I didn't really have an idea of what sex like was. Like I knew what it was, but I never had it, and I had very limited view and like information. I knew the noises, and I knew like how it was supposed to look. They said they like jump on the bed and make lots of noises and you know all that. To prove it to me, Taylor and Shirley went in first together for 7 minutes while me and Ruiz stood outside the door with a timer, and they jumped on the bed, they made like funny noises, you know, like all that stuff, and like squeak squeak, like all that stuff, and me and Ruiz thought it was hilarious. We're like dying laughing, like oh my god, this is so funny. And then I go in with Shirley and we do the same thing, jumping on the bed. It's hilarious, like we're jumping on the bed, we're like making noises, like it was really fun. Like I was having such a good time. And I'm thinking this is great, and like we're like hitting each other with like the bat and the little hammer, the inflatable ones, and it's hilarious. Then I ended up going in with Ruiz, and this is where it gets a little bit R-rated. Like I said, I'd never done anything with a boy besides like kiss. And basically, he like laid me down on the bed, he like kissed me, I like kissed him back, and he started trying to like make out with me. And that was kind of new. I never really made out with anybody, but I kind of just followed his lead, and so we made out. And as we were making out, he grabbed my hand and he tried to, you know, put it in his pants, and me being like the late bloomer that I was like, whoop! Everything stopped. Nope, like I was scared. I was like, nope, not gonna happen, like sorry. So like in my brain all that was happening. So he saw me stop and he was like, oh, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, you know, like I just am not ready for that, like. And he's like, oh really? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm sorry, like are you mad? He's like, no, he acted like everything was fine, everything's cool, no big deal. And I felt good about it. Like I was like, wow, I told him no and he listened. Like that's like, what a good guy. Literally that's the bare minimum. Standards are on the floor. What a good guy, he listened to no. Bare minimum, they should be listening to no. But moving on, at the time, oh my god, what a good guy. So get out of the room, everything's good. They're all laughing and stuff because it was really quiet when we were in the room, and obviously Shirley and Taylor like want to ask me like, oh my god, what happened, blah blah blah. They didn't have time to, because then it was Taylor's turn to go in with Ruiz. I'm not sure how we came up with who went in with who at what time. I don't really remember. This was in 7th grade. Just know that they went next. And I waited to hear the noises. I waited to hear the laughing. I waited to hear the jumping on the bed. I waited to hear the hammer. I waited like to hear the squeaking of the inflatable stuff, and I didn't hear anything. And I started kind of get like a little bit worried. And I'm like looking at Shirley, and Shirley's like looking at me, and we're both like kind of confused. and then we hear a little bit of like laughing, a little bit. Yeah, that was it. And the timer went off and I opened the door and they were just like sitting there. Yeah, they were like really weird. When they came out, they were like really awkward. It was a true 7 minutes that they were in there and I felt really awkward. Everybody felt kind of awkward. And I forget what happened next. I feel like it was just like everybody was uncomfortable. We ended up all going to sleep after we played a little bit of video games. I thought everything was fine. I asked like everybody like what had happened, and Shirley said nothing happened when she went in. Taylor, she said nothing happened, they were just talking. And I asked Ruiz, he said nothing happened, they were just talking. And so, you know, I did tell Taylor and Shirley, like, because they were my friends, like, oh, he tried to stick my hand in his pants, whatever. And, you know, it was like kind of more like, oh my God, he likes you so much, ah, like that kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, he listens to me, like he's willing to take it slow, blah, blah. Mind you, like at this time, I'd only been seeing him for probably a few days. It was literally only a few days that we were dating. It was not a long time at all. So that is a big reason why I was like, no, I've only been your girlfriend for like 3 days. Yeah, so then I go to school and, you know, after the weekend, everything is fine. But I noticed that Taylor's being like a little bit weird with me, and I noticed Ruiz was being like a little bit more distant and not as like laughy jokey with me. But I didn't think too much of it. I just kind of thought like, okay, that was weird. I kind of more thought it was my fault, like, oh, did I do anything? Like, did I make anybody upset? Like, blah, blah, because I was very insecure at this time. Then I overheard people talking in my classes with Ruiz and about Ruiz in code. It was really weird, and it was like, oh, do you know like what A did with B? Oh, well, B said this and C doesn't even know. Like stuff like that kind of code, where it's obvious they're talking about a secret, you know, but at this time, that was over the weekend. I wasn't even thinking about that weekend. I was just kind of trying to figure out like, oh, what's the secret? Like, what's going on? I'd overheard it, and I wasn't really friends with any of his friends, so none of them were gonna tell me. So I talked to Shirley. Shirley, like I said, was a tomboy. She was like best friends with Ruiz at this time. So she told me like, don't worry, I'm gonna figure out what this is about. I got your back, blah, blah. And I was like, this is dope because it's like, it's my best friend's cousin. Like, she's got me. Like, she's gonna know the secret. I'm gonna be in with the gossip. I'm gonna know, like, all that stuff, right? I also wanted to know because I felt like they stopped talking about it whenever I came around. I would hear the tail end of, oh, no, that kind of thing. So I knew like, I wasn't supposed to know. Basically, Shirley finds out and tells me that the code is about me, Ruiz, and Taylor. And as you might have guessed, it was about what happened in that room with Taylor and Ruiz. I was very blindsided. Shirley told me in the hallway of my middle school, and she came up to me and she's like, I know what it's about. It's about you, Taylor, Ruiz. And basically, Taylor gave Ruiz a job. I was devastated. That was my first boyfriend. That was my best friend. And I felt like horrible. I immediately saw red. My whole face turned red. This was, I think, after school. So everybody was at their lockers. Not sure if it was like a passing period, lunch, recess, whatever it was. Everybody was at their lockers. And I knew where her locker was, my best friend. We were in the same middle school together. I was 7th grade, she was 8th grade. So I beelined it to her. Straight up beelined it to her, went down the hallway. Whole time Shirley's following me like, oh my God, like what? Like what's going on? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? Blah, blah. And I'm just fuming. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So when I get up to her, basically I curse her out. I'm proud of the things that I said. I feel very differently about it now than I did then. But in the moment I did call her, you know, every bad name that you wouldn't want to be called as a woman. I was fuming. I saw red and I was like, I can't believe you. I can't, how dare you? Like, you're supposed to be my best friend and you're so dirty. This is something that you would do with him. Like, you're so dirty. Like, I remember saying that. And then I said the big one, and you're not invited to my birthday party anymore. Such a 7th grade problem. You're not invited to my birthday party anymore. So she started crying. I don't know what you're talking about, as she's crying. I don't know what you're talking about, like, And I straight up tell her, what kind of best friend are you? You are not coming to my birthday. You're not. And I don't ever want to talk to you again. I don't ever want to see you again. I don't want you to look at me. I don't want you to, like, I was going in. And a lot of people saw it, but nobody really stopped because it was kind of fast. Like, I said everything really fast. I talk really fast. And she's just standing there crying. And she's like, wait, like, he made me. He made me do it. Like, he made me. And I did not believe her. I was like, you know, maybe at that time I should have actually listened to her side of the story because, you know, you never really know what happened. It was just more so the fact that it was a secret and I was so blindsided. I didn't look at it logically. I'm like I said, I just saw red. So I considered her dealt with, and then I went to, I think I went home after that. I didn't want to see my boyfriend at the time. And I think it was another weekend. I think this happened on like a Friday. So every Friday we would all go to the movie theater. A lot of people in my grade, we would all go to the movie theater, our local movie theater. We all were gonna be there. So when I went with Shirley. I didn't talk to Taylor. I went with Shirley and I went with my cousin who was like, he always went with me everywhere. And so I went with him. And obviously all these people from my school are there. Ruiz is also there with all of his friends. He was like, oh, come sit with me. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna sit with you. He's like, oh, like why? And I'm like, I know what you did. Like, I know what you did. You're disgusting. He's like, please, like come sit with me. Like, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, like I'm not sitting with you. I won't. Like, I really won't sit with you. And he was like, are you serious? Like, I can't believe this. Like, why would you do this? Blah, blah. And I'm just like, why would you do that? And so the movie's starting. So we had to like find our seats, obviously. So he sat in a row in front of me. He kept turning around like through the seat, telling me he was sorry and like, you know, telling me like, oh please, like, and mind you, whispering this as the movie was going on. This is why so many people in my school got kicked out of that movie theater. We were always loud, always. And like, other people were there to enjoy the movies. It was a local movie theater. It wasn't like a big like, show place, AMC. It wasn't like that. It was like a local movie theater with only literally 2 theaters where you paid like $5 for a ticket. Yeah, like we were whispering and I'm just like, leave me alone and blah, blah, blah. So I ended up breaking up with him. I ended up not inviting the girl to, not inviting one of my best friends to my birthday party. Our parents were both torn up at the fact that I was so mad at her and everything. And when I told them what happened, they both understood, but they both wanted us to squash it. And there was 2 sides, you know, to every story. So she does claim to this day that he forced her to do it, like he forced her to put her hand in his pants and everything. And so I did forgive her. As I got older, I did kind of know, you know, he was probably the kind of guy that might do that because he was a guy that was popular and he was a guy that was like braggy. And, you know, she did kind of save me because, you know, in the end, he did tell everybody that that happened. And I wouldn't want it to be me. Like, what if I did something, you know, private with him and he told everybody? So it was a blessing in disguise, pretty much. I only dated him for a few days and that happened. And, you know, he couldn't say anything about me or do anything about it besides saying like, oh, that I'm a prude. Like, I wouldn't do anything. We did end up mending the friendship, but it did take a few years. She sent me that I kept at first, and then she sent me a card apologizing and everything. Yeah, she really did want to mend our friendship, and I did let it go. I did feel this very deeply because, like I said, I knew her my whole life. She was my closest friend. But at this time, we probably weren't friends for about 2 years, and I ended up getting a lot closer with her cousin for only a year, and then some stuff went down with her cousin. But we're not friends anymore because I left that area and she did too. She moved to Florida and I moved to New York. So we don't talk. We're not, and I had to unfriend her off social media for the wild political stuff that she posts. But yeah, that's pretty much the story about Ruiz, Taylor, and me. First boyfriend. And the first time I had a boyfriend, I was cheated on, and it was an indicator of how my love life was to go in the future. I'm proud of how I handled the situation with her, but I definitely believe that, you know, I wish that she would have just told me. I feel like that is the reason why I was the most hurt, that I was her best friend and she didn't tell me. Like, if he forced you to do that, you know, that's horrible. Like, I wish you would have told me and I could have like helped you through it, and the only person I would have been angry at is him. Yeah, it was more the fact that it was a secret, everybody knew about it but me, the code talking, like, I will never forget any of that. To this day, it gave me like deep trust issues of people, of my friends, of stuff like that. It made it really hard for me to make friends and believe what they had to say and believe, and just like to blindly trust them, because that was like my closest friend and that happened. Yeah, if you guys like this story, I have a lot of other stories like this, unfortunately, but I've learned a lot, and now I'm really happy with the guy that I'm with now, Sean, you guys know. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I did learn a lot of lessons running through these bums. And yeah, Ruiz, you are done. You are over. Yeah, and Ruiz ended up moving and having kids and stuff. And so it definitely feels like I dodged a bullet. Nothing wrong if you have kids. It's not part of my life plan. So I felt like I dodged a bullet because that's not something that I wanted. But yeah. Thanks guys for knowing this like little piece of my life. If you guys like this story, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you would have handled it differently, if you think I did a good job or a bad job at handling it. Let me know if you guys liked the stories. I can keep going with the series. I have a million of them. Not a million boyfriends, but I have a million stories. Remember to like, comment, share, you know, turn on your post notifications, turn them on. Make sure that these videos are going up. Even if Sean is the busiest of the bees, I'm gonna make sure we get a video out each week on Tuesday, because I know that we did have some subscribers missing us. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye!